Today, we're going to talk about stories of loss, but not from some ancient, dusty history book. We're talking about right now. This is an explainer about extinction and about the incredible animals that have vanished, literally on our watch. You know, when we hear that word, extinction, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, it's dinosaurs, right? Or maybe woolly mammoths, these huge, dramatic events from the deep past. But the tough reality is, extinction isn't just history. It's current events. It's happening right now, all around us. And here's the really scary part. It's not just happening, it's accelerating at a mind-blowing speed. Scientists estimate that species are disappearing at least 1,000 times faster than the natural background rate. You know, the normal pace of things before we humans really took over. This isn't just evolution playing out. This is a violent disruption of life on Earth. In fact, many scientists are now calling our time the sixth mass extinction. Now, the previous five were caused by things like giant asteroid impacts or massive volcanic eruptions, but this one's different. It's almost entirely driven by us, by human activity. So what are we doing that's causing this? Well, it's a whole bunch of pressures that often pile on top of each other. We clear-cut forests for farms and cities, just wiping out habitats. We accidentally or sometimes intentionally introduce invasive species that completely wreck local ecosystems. We hunt and fish animals to the brink of collapse. And of course, the big one, we're fundamentally changing the climate, turning places that were once perfect homes into deadly traps. To really get this, let's start with a story that marks a really tragic first. I'm talking about the Bramble Cay Melomys. It's a tiny little rodent, but it holds this grim title, the first mammal ever to go extinct specifically because of human-caused climate change. I mean, look at this. Its entire world, its whole universe, was a single, tiny, sandy island in Australia's Great Barrier Reef called Bramble Cay. And the highest point on that island? Just 3 meters above sea level. That's about 10 feet. For thousands of years, that was enough. But in our warming world, an island like that is on the absolute front line. And the collapse, it was just shockingly fast. In 1845, sailors wrote that they were so plentiful they hunted them for sport. Fast forward to 1998, and the population was under 100. Okay, not great, but maybe stable. But just 6 years later, only 12 were left. The last time anyone saw one for sure was 2009. And then silence. So what happened? Well, the ocean happened. As sea levels rose, storm surges just started washing over the island again and again. It flooded the animals' burrows and killed the plants. And here's the killer stat. Between 2004 and 2014, the island lost 97% of its vegetation. For the Melomys, that wasn't just losing its home, it was losing its only source of food. And this was the final official word from the Queensland government. The science was just crystal clear. This unique little species, which had carved out a life for millennia on a tiny patch of sand, was completely erased by a crisis it had absolutely no part in creating. Okay, so we've seen the slow, creeping violence of a rising ocean. Now let's turn to something different, the explosive, overwhelming force of industrialization. Our next story is from China's Yangtze River, which for 20 million years was home to an amazing freshwater dolphin, the Baiji. The Baiji wasn't just any animal. It was a cultural icon, a true living fossil. In fact, it was the very last surviving member of its entire mammal family. In Chinese mythology, people revered it as the goddess of the Yangtze, a protector. But that ancient history, that reverence, it offered absolutely no protection from the 20th century. Just look at the contrast here. Back in the 1950s, the river was healthy. It supported something like 6,000 Baiji. But then China's economy exploded, and the Yangtze was transformed. It basically became a superhighway for cargo ships. Its natural flow was choked off by massive dams like the Three Gorges, and it turned into a dumping ground for pollution. For the Baiji, it was a death by 1,000 cuts. It wasn't just one thing. A huge killer was bycatch. They'd get accidentally caught and killed by fishermen using these horrible rolling hooks or illegal electrofishing. The dams cut off their migration paths, and get this, the Baiji was functionally blind, so it relied on sonar to navigate, but the deafening roar of thousands of ships left it totally disoriented, making it easy to get hit by propellers. And the Baiji wasn't some isolated tragedy. It was a giant blinking warning light for the entire ecosystem. The Chinese paddlefish, a species that had been around for 200 million years, disappeared just a year after the last Baiji was seen. The Yangtze sturgeon is now gone from the wild, too. The whole system was just unraveling. All right, our third story is about a totally different kind of pressure, the direct, relentless, and brutal force of the illegal wildlife trade. The western black rhino, this majestic animal that once roamed across West and Central Africa, was hunted into oblivion for one single body part, its horn. The scale of the slaughter it's just hard to even comprehend. Between 1970 and 1992, the black rhino population across Africa crashed by 96%. This wasn't a slow decline, this was a systematic eradication fueled by poaching. So how on earth does this happen? Well, it was like a recipe for extinction, a toxic mix of three main things. First, you have a huge surge in demand for rhino horn, all based on the completely false belief that it has medicinal powers. Second, you have a total failure of governance. I mean, there were anti-poaching laws, but they were almost never enforced, thanks to corruption. And finally, you have habitat loss, squeezing the last few rhinos into smaller and smaller areas, which just made them easier targets. And finally, let's talk about a more insidious threat, one that can be totally invisible, microscopic even, and can travel the globe on our shoes or in the belly of a ship. I'm talking about invasive species and diseases that we introduce into ecosystems that have zero defenses. Just take a look at the chytrid fungus, or bead for short. We humans spread this thing all over the world. This one single pathogen has caused the decline of over 500 species of amphibians. It's been called the single most destructive disease for biodiversity ever recorded. Its impact just dwarfs everything else. And the list of victims from these invasions is just heartbreaking. In Australia, the mountain mist frog was completely wiped out by that fungus. On Christmas Island, the native whiptail skink was hunted to extinction by the invasive wolf snake. And in Hawaii, the beautiful oo bird was lost to avian malaria, a disease carried by mosquitoes that we brought to the islands. Three completely different stories, but with the same tragic plot: unwelcome guests in a fragile home. Look, these stories they're really tough to hear, but they're also classrooms. If we're willing to pay attention, they teach us some really critical lessons about what we're doing wrong, and more importantly, what we have to do differently if we want to stop this list of the lost from getting any longer. Because when you look closely at these extinctions, you start to see the same patterns of failure over and over. There's what you might call a charisma bias. A small brown rodent like the Melomys just doesn't get the same attention or funding as a rhino. There's endless bureaucratic delay. Recovery plans get written, but by the time they're approved and funded, the species is already gone. And ultimately, there's just a simple failure to act on clear scientific warnings until it's way, way too late. So many of these extinctions weren't just predictable, they were preventable. This was the message written outside the enclosure of Lonesome George. He was the very last Pinta Island giant tortoise, and he died in 2012. He became this global icon for conservation. But his story and all the stories we've looked at today, they all carry the same powerful and very heavy message. Their fate and the fate of so many others is entirely in our hands. The Bramble Cay Melomys, the Baiji, the western black rhino, their stories aren't just eulogies for what we've lost. They are alarms. They are sirens blaring in the present. And the question that leaves for all of us is, are we listening?